If you're operating in the US from abroad, one small thing that can cause a surprising amount of confusion is how payments actually move. You may hear people say, "We'll send an ACH," or "This needs to go by wire," as if those are interchangeable. They're not. Both are electronic bank payments, but they work differently, they move on different timelines, and they're usually used for different situations. The easiest way to think about it is this. ACH is usually for routine domestic payments, and wire transfers are usually for urgent, high-value, or time-sensitive payments. That's the big picture. Once you understand that, most US payment decisions become much easier. Let's start with ACH. ACH stands for Automated Clearinghouse. It's a US bank-to-bank network that processes electronic credits and debits in batches. In practice, that means ACH is commonly used for things like payroll, direct deposit, recurring bills, and many standard vendor payments. It's built for volume and efficiency, not for sending one urgent payment at the exact second you press the button. One helpful detail here is that ACH can work in both directions. A credit pushes money out, like paying an employee or supplier. A debit pulls money in after authorization, like a recurring payment for a utility bill or software subscription. That matters because in the US, some vendors won't ask you to manually send a payment every time. They may ask you to approve an ACH debit instead. A wire transfer is different. A wire is sent individually, not in a batch. In the US, the Federal Reserve describes the FedWire Fund service as a system generally used for large-value, time-critical payments. For domestic FedWire payments, settlement is real-time and final. That's why wires are often used when timing really matters. For example, a large transfer with a hard deadline, or a payment where you do not want to wait for normal ACH processing windows. That does not mean ACH is always slow. Same-day ACH does exist, and ACH payments can sometimes be processed within the same business day. But ACH still runs through a scheduled network, with processing windows, bank cutoffs, weekends, and holidays, all affecting timing. So if something is truly urgent, a wire is usually the safer choice. If it's a normal operational payment and cost matters more than speed, ACH is often the better fit. For international teams, there are a few practical tips worth remembering. First, don't assume the same banking instructions work for both ACH and wire transfers. Many companies have separate details for each. Second, ask about timing before the deadline is close, especially if you're coordinating across time zones. And third, treat any last-minute change to payment instructions very carefully. That last point is especially important for wires. The FBI warns businesses about business email compromise schemes where criminals impersonate a supplier or executive and ask for payment to be sent to a new account. Their guidance is to verify any change in payment instructions through a trusted second channel, like calling a known contact using a number you already have, not the one provided in the email. So, if you want one practical rule to take away, it's this. Use ACH for routine US payments when speed is not critical, and use a wire when the payment is urgent, high value, or too important to leave to normal batch timing. And before sending either one, ask 3 questions. How fast does this need to arrive? Which exact bank instructions apply to this payment method? And have we independently verified the details? If you do that consistently, you'll avoid a lot of unnecessary payment issues. Still have questions or want to learn more about doing business in the US? Head to Orbis.com for more.